my wife posted. Now I know my worth, won't accept less than I deserve. So I showed her my worth, and exactly what she deserves. I discovered this declaration while fixing her laptop for the third time this month. A bitter irony that wasn't lost on me as I read her LinkedIn post gaining momentum among her corporate colleagues. I'm Owen, a software architect who's been married to Brielle for 4 years, and I genuinely thought we had built something solid together until I saw her broadcasting our relationship problems disguised as professional empowerment content to her entire network. The post itself was crafted with corporate buzzwords about recognizing true value in all relationships and refusing to compromise personal worth for comfort, but the subtext was crystal clear to anyone who knew us. This was about our marriage, not her marketing director position. I had spent my Saturday debugging her system, organizing our home office, and preparing meal prep for the week ahead while she attended another women's leadership brunch with her colleagues Harper and Jade, the same routine we'd maintained for months where I handled our practical life while she focused on career networking. The comments rolling in were telling. You deserve excellence, not mediocrity, from Harper. Stop settling for comfortable when you could have extraordinary, from Jade, and dozens of heart and fire emojis from colleagues who barely knew me but felt qualified to judge our relationship dynamics. I watched the engagement numbers climb as her professional network rallied around what they perceived as career advice, not realizing they were essentially voting on whether my contributions to our partnership measured up to their standards of what Brielle deserved. When she came home that evening, glowing from the validation she'd received online, I asked her directly about the post and its timing, considering I'd just spent my weekend ensuring her technology functioned properly and our household ran smoothly. It's about workplace empowerment, she deflected, not meeting my eyes as she scrolled through the continuing stream of supportive comments. My career growth and demanding excellence in professional relationships. But I knew better, and the passive-aggressive nature of broadcasting relationship grievances through professional networking platforms while I literally supported every aspect of her ability to focus on that career wasn't lost on me. This was a calculated public statement about our marriage, wrapped in corporate language to maintain plausible deniability. I spent the next day investigating exactly what had influenced this sudden declaration of unmet standards, and what I discovered in the comment threads and her tablet messages revealed a months-long campaign orchestrated by her workplace network. Harper, the marketing director who'd been divorced twice by age 35, had been conducting these women's leadership lunches that were essentially group therapy sessions disguised as professional development, where she encouraged women to examine every relationship for signs of settling. The private message threads I found on Brielle's tablet painted a disturbing picture of coordinated manipulation. Stop being the supportive wife and start being the empowered woman, Harper had written, followed by Jade adding, men need to prove their worth constantly, not just coast on past gestures. I read months of conversations where these colleagues, who barely knew the details of our relationship, had systematically convinced Brielle that my steady reliability was actually a character flaw, that my practical support was somehow beneath her deserving nature. The messaging was sophisticated and calculated, turning every positive aspect of our partnership into evidence of her settling for mediocrity. My consistent income became lack of ambition, my household management became controlling behavior, and my technology support became treating her like she's helpless. Harper had shared articles about emotional labor and invisible work, while completely ignoring that I performed 90% of the actual invisible work in our household, from handling finances to maintaining our cars to managing our social calendar and family obligations. Jade, the finance manager who'd cycled through 6 relationships in 3 years, had convinced Brielle that high-value women don't accept anything less than exceptional treatment, conveniently overlooking that exceptional treatment usually requires exceptional contribution from both parties. I realized this LinkedIn post wasn't spontaneous frustration but rather the culmination of a workplace-influenced campaign designed to undermine our marriage dynamics, orchestrated by women whose own relationship track records suggested they weren't qualified to dispense partnership advice. The irony was devastating. While these colleagues preached about demanding excellence, I was literally the one ensuring Brielle's life ran smoothly enough for her to have the luxury of contemplating whether she deserved better than a husband who handled every practical aspect of adult life so she could focus entirely on her career advancement and networking with people who were systematically poisoning her perspective on our marriage. I decided to demonstrate exactly what worth meant by showing Brielle the true value exchange in our relationship, starting Monday morning when I stopped handling all the technology support, financial planning, home maintenance coordination, and daily life management that she had taken completely for granted. The first test came Tuesday when her laptop crashed during an important client presentation and she discovered she didn't know any of the passwords, backup procedures, or recovery protocols I had always managed. She called me frantically from her office, but I simply said, "I'm sure Harper or Jade can help you figure it out, since they're such experts on what you deserve." Her car failed its state inspection Wednesday because she had never known that I handled all maintenance scheduling, documentation, and follow-up appointments, leaving her stranded at the DMV with expired registration and no idea how to resolve the situation. Thursday brought a call from our mortgage company about late payments because Brielle had somehow assumed that bills just got paid somehow, without realizing I managed every aspect of our financial obligations, from automatic payments to budget tracking to tax preparation. I watched her panic as she tried to navigate online banking systems, insurance portals, and utility company websites that I had been managing seamlessly for years while maintaining my demanding software development role and contributing significantly more to our household income. Her LinkedIn network's advice proved completely useless when faced with practical home ownership responsibilities. Harper's suggestion to hire a financial planner ignored that I had been functioning as one for free, while Jade's recommendation to outsource everything overlooked that outsourcing required knowledge, coordination, and money that Brielle didn't possess. I documented everything meticulously, creating a comprehensive spreadsheet of tasks, time investments, and financial contributions that I had been providing while Brielle focused solely on her career and networking activities. The house began to reflect the chaos as basic maintenance issues accumulated. The garbage disposal broke because she didn't know about regular cleaning, the Wi-Fi went down because she didn't understand our service agreements, and the yard's sprinkler system flooded because she was unaware of seasonal adjustments I made. Her work performance started suffering as she struggled to manage responsibilities that I had seamlessly handled, spending her lunch hours on hold with various service providers instead of attending leadership brunches where she could complain about not feeling valued enough. By Friday, she was experiencing the full scope of adult responsibilities while I maintained my professional obligations and personal well-being, finally seeing the massive infrastructure of support I had provided that enabled her to have the luxury of questioning whether I met her elevated standards of what she deserved from a partner. Brielle's struggles intensified as she discovered that our monthly expenses exceeded her marketing director salary by nearly $1,800, something I had been supplementing without her awareness while she spent her income on professional wardrobe, networking events, and the expensive organic groceries she insisted we needed. She attempted to hire contractors for the garbage disposal and sprinkler repairs but lacked the knowledge to communicate the problems effectively or evaluate quotes, ending up with a $700 bill for what should have been a $200 fix because she couldn't distinguish between legitimate service and exploitation. Her work performance deteriorated significantly as she tried to manage responsibilities I had seamlessly handled while maintaining my demanding software development role that required 60-hour weeks during product launches. She started missing client deadlines because she was spending work hours researching how to reset router passwords and understand insurance deductibles. The supportive LinkedIn network that had encouraged her declaration of worth offered only generic motivational content rather than practical solutions for managing a household and marriage, with Harper posting inspirational quotes about growth through adversity, while completely ignoring that Brielle's adversity was self-created through entitled expectations. Jade suggested hiring a life coach to help Brielle transition to independence, conveniently overlooking that independence required competency and financial capability that Brielle had never developed because I had been providing comprehensive life support for 4 years. I watched her frantically Google basic adult tasks like how to read utility bills and what is escrow, while her colleagues continued posting about demanding excellence from partners, completely disconnected from the reality that excellent partnerships require excellent contributions from both people. Her credit card balances started climbing as she attempted to solve problems through expensive shortcuts, hiring services for tasks I had done efficiently, buying new items instead of maintaining existing ones, and paying premium prices because she lacked the knowledge to shop intelligently or negotiate effectively. The irony became more pronounced daily as Brielle struggled with basic competency while her workplace mentors continued encouraging her to raise her standards, not realizing that standards without corresponding capability create entitlement rather than empowerment. By the second week, she was questioning whether her LinkedIn network actually understood the difference between professional empowerment and relationship partnership, especially when their advice consistently failed to address the practical realities of adult life that require knowledge, effort, and genuine contribution rather than just demands and expectations. After 2 weeks of complete chaos, Brielle had her moment of revelation when she received foreclosure warning notices and utility shutoff threats, finally understanding the massive imbalance in our relationship contributions that I had been managing invisibly for years. She found me in my home office, tears streaming down her face as she held a stack of overdue bills and disconnection warnings, and for the first time in months, she wasn't checking her LinkedIn notifications or crafting posts about her worth. "Owen, I need help," she said, her voice breaking as she admitted what we both knew. She had been functioning as both primary breadwinner and household operations manager while she focused solely on career advancement and networking with people who had no understanding of what partnership actually required. During the heated argument that followed, she finally acknowledged that her LinkedIn post wasn't about professional empowerment but had been influenced by colleagues who were projecting their own relationship failures onto her successful marriage. Women who had convinced her that my reliable competency was somehow a character flaw rather than the foundation that allowed her to pursue her ambitions without worry. Harper's been divorced twice and Jade can't keep a relationship longer than 6 months, Brielle admitted, finally seeing the irony of taking relationship advice from people whose track records suggested they didn't understand how partnerships actually functioned. She confessed that her worth had been artificially inflated by people who didn't understand the complexity of her actual life situation, who had convinced her that my contributions were obligations rather than choices, that my support was controlling rather than enabling. The realization hit her that while she had been posting about deserving excellence, I had been providing it daily through financial stability, household management, technology support, and emotional consistency that she had taken completely for granted. "I thought I deserved better than what I had," she sobbed, "but I never stopped to consider what I was actually contributing versus what I was demanding, or whether the people giving me advice had any idea what a functional partnership looked like." For the first time since this nightmare began, she asked me to teach her how to be a genuine partner rather than a dependent who occasionally contributed income, finally understanding that worth is demonstrated through actions and contributions rather than proclaimed through social media posts or workplace validation from people whose own relationships were disasters waiting to happen. Brielle confronted Harper and Jade during their next leadership lunch, and I insisted she record the conversation where she systematically explained my contributions versus what their boyfriends provided, exposing the reality gap between their theoretical empowerment and practical partnership dynamics. "You told me Owen wasn't ambitious enough," Brielle said to Harper, "but he makes 60% more than your boyfriend Mark, handles all our finances, maintains our house, and supports my career completely. What exactly does Mark contribute besides splitting restaurant bills and complaining about his job?" Harper became immediately defensive, claiming that financial contribution wasn't everything, but Brielle pressed further. "You said I deserved someone who prioritized me, but Owen spent 4 years ensuring I never had to worry about any practical life management so I could focus entirely on my career growth, while Mark makes you handle your own car maintenance and splits grocery costs down to the penny." Jade tried to redirect the conversation toward emotional fulfillment, but Brielle systematically dismantled that argument too. "You convinced me that Owen's reliability was boring, but your boyfriend James disappeared for 3 days last month without explanation, cancels plans constantly, and you've told us dozens of times about his emotional unavailability. How is that more fulfilling than someone who shows up consistently?" The recording captured their increasingly desperate attempts to justify their advice, as Brielle pointed out that their relationship guidance came from people who couldn't maintain stable long-term partnerships themselves, who had mistaken drama for passion and instability for excitement. Harper finally snapped and said, "Maybe some of us have higher standards than settling for boring suburban life," to which Brielle responded, "Higher standards? Or impossible standards that ensure you'll never have to actually commit to building something with another person?" She methodically explained how their advice had nearly destroyed her marriage and financial stability, how their theoretical empowerment had translated to practical incompetence, and how their definition of worth had nothing to do with actual value creation or partnership contribution. The conversation ended with both women storming out when Brielle announced she would be posting a professional follow-up on LinkedIn about the difference between empowerment and entitlement, and recognizing genuine partnership versus performative independence. Her post generated significant backlash from her previous support network, with Harper and Jade rallying their circle to accuse Brielle of internalized misogyny and betraying women's progress, but it also attracted overwhelmingly positive responses from happily married professionals who understood that true partnership requires mutual competency, contribution, and respect rather than one-sided demands disguised as empowerment. 6 months later, Brielle had learned to manage our shared responsibilities while maintaining her career, creating a genuine partnership rather than the dependent arrangement she had previously maintained with my invisible support system. She discovered that true empowerment came from competency and contribution rather than demands and expectations, spending her evenings learning financial management, home maintenance basics, and technology troubleshooting instead of attending networking events where colleagues complained about their relationships. Harper and Jade both experienced predictable relationship failures when they applied their never settle philosophy to partners who weren't willing to carry them financially and practically. Harper's boyfriend Mark left after she demanded he pay for her car repairs while contributing nothing to his household expenses, and Jade's relationship with James ended when she gave him an ultimatum about stepping up, that he responded to by stepping out completely. I watched with quiet satisfaction as Brielle developed actual skills and shared real responsibilities rather than just contributing opinions and emotional labor, finally understanding that partnership requires both people to bring tangible value rather than just demands for better treatment. Our marriage strengthened significantly as she gained competency in areas I had been handling alone, and for the first time in our relationship, I felt like I had a true partner rather than a beautiful dependent who occasionally contributed to household income. The story concluded perfectly when Brielle's new LinkedIn post about building real partnership through competency and contribution went viral among actual successful couples, while Harper and Jade's continued posts about knowing your worth attracted only the same circle of perpetually single women who confused entitlement with empowerment. Brielle finally understood that worth is demonstrated through actions and contributions rather than proclaimed through social media posts or workplace validation, and that the best relationships are built by two competent adults who enhance each other's lives rather than one person demanding excellence while providing mediocrity. She learned that real empowerment meant being capable of managing her own life while choosing to build something better with someone else, not demanding that someone else manage her life while she focused on career advancement and networking with people whose relationship track records proved they had no idea what they were talking about when it came to building lasting partnerships.